welcome back to Coffee Cafe. So the last thing that we did last was buying the computer system, right? We purchased the computer, we purchased the printer, and here we figured out what the cost of the fixed assets were, right? Including the tax. So we learned how to distribute the tax, okay? And of course, we journalized it and post it to our ledger and so on and so forth. So this is where we last left off. So in this case, when we're going to be continuing is that on June 5th, we have one last thing here, which is we end up paying for liability insurance for a 12-month policy, okay? And it's going to be starting on June 5th, of course, right, 2020, okay, for the amount totaling up to $2,350, okay? And of course, we issued a check and made it payable to Sargent Insurance Company, okay? Policy number is once again going to be this 884513. So in this case, how am I going to recognize this journal transaction? What do you think should happen? What did we buy?
Insurance.
We bought insurance. So let's go ahead and take a look in our chart of accounts. Do we have anything in regards to insurance? Right, do we have an insurance expense? Yes, we do, right? The insurance expense here is account number 6400, okay? Now, what about making prepayments? Because in this case, I bought 12 months worth of insurance. That's going to be a prepaid account, right? Because I'm buying insurance and paying for it in advance. So, do I have anything that is a prepaid? Anything? Yes, we do, right? We used this account before, prepaid accounts, right? Account number 18600. And of course, how did we pay for it? We used a check. So therefore, we're also going to be issuing a check. So let's go ahead and go to our journal. Now, in this case, right, we recognize that we need to pay for this month's current insurance, right? Because when I buy the insurance, it's effective the day that you purchase it. So in this case, I purchased it on June 5th. So that means it's going to cover me for that month of June. Okay, so at least I need to be able to figure out how much the insurance is going to cost me per month. And since we already talked about it, right, we end up buying 11 months in advance. So we have a prepaid account and we paid using our check, okay? So in this case, the insurance expense was $6,400. Prepaid accounts was $18,600, and we got our checking account as $10,100. So in this case, right, how am I going to figure out how much the insurance cost me if I have it for 12 months for a total of $2,350? How do I know how much it's going to cost me per month?
Divide by 12.
Good, right? We're going to take 2,350 and we're going to divide that by 12. And how much a month is going to be my insurance? $195.84. Okay, why did you round up to the 4? Okay, so in this case, I got 195.8333. So in this case, does that tell us to round up or round down? It's going to tell us to round down, right? Because it's going to be one,
Do that for every month, though.
right?
Which months are you gonna round up?
Okay, so go ahead and calculate this. 195.84 times 12. Do you get 2,350? Maybe not so much, but in this case, since 333 tells us to, it's not more than 5. It's not more than 50%, so you wouldn't round up for any reason, okay? But when we reach the end of the month, yes, that's where on the 12th month, if it's necessary, you may need to get that extra penny into that one. But in this case, we're just going to divide it, and in this case, it tells us it's 195.83. Okay, so then what is going to be 11 months? Okay, so this is what you were talking about, right? If we end up just doing that, then you're going to get your pennies off here because I'm off by 4 pennies. Okay, that is fine, but like I said, if worst case scenario, the last month, you're just going to pay whatever is remaining. So in this case, once again, it would technically be 195.8333 times 11. So that means you owe a total of $2,154.17, which is your overall amount that you're going to pay over the span of the rest of the year, 11 years. Okay, so in this case, no need to round up for any reason. This is just, we're just calculating the first month, but once we reach the end of the 12th month, if you need to squeeze somewhere that extra 4 cents, then that's where you're going to do it, okay? All right, so there you go. So one of them is for 1 month, the other one is for 11 months, and my grand total that my check was written out for was $2,350. All right, so now I need to go ahead and cut my check because I already wrote this check out. Okay, so today is the 5th. It's for $2,350. And who did I write this check out to?
Sergeant Insurance Company.
Okay, Sergeant Insurance Company. Okay, so what check number did we use? We used check number 1503 for this transaction. So I'm going to go over to my general journal here, and now I can finish off my description because I have every piece of information I need, right? I have the person I wrote the check out to, so the vendor that I worked with was Sergeant Insurance. Okay? And I bought, you could write this in here, 12-month insurance. Okay? And again, you can even put the policy number if you'd like. So policy number, so we can have a reference point to what this contract was. So 884513. And of course, we can also include the check number 1503, right? The more details about the transaction, the better this journal explains. Now, is it necessary for you to have the policy number? Not necessary, but at least if you do put the policy number, at least you are able to look it up much more easier, right? You could say, well, this year for this insurance policy, right? At least I know which one I'm talking about because I have the policy number right here, right? And yeah, that gives you also proof that the transaction has occurred. And if any issues saying that you don't have the coverage for June, you can pull up this policy number and talk with Sergeant Insurance to go ahead and can figure out why you guys why they're not issuing the service when you paid for it. Okay. All right. So now that my journal looks good, I wrote my check. Next I got to do is go to my ledger because now I spent some more money. All right. And I need to update that in my accounts. So first things first is on my journal, I have insurance expense. So therefore, I'm going to locate where my insurance expense is. I'm going to do it in the exact order so I do not forget to skip over an account and forget to post it to my ledger. So insurance expense, again, all your expenses should be in alphabetical order as well. So here we got labor, interest, insurance. Okay, perfect. It is 6/5, right? This is insurance expense for month of June. Okay, insurance. Okay, general journal number 1, and of course, because this was an expense I had to do for the company, it's going to be increased on the debit. Okay, and because it's the very first account, that means my account balance is going to be at a debit balance of $195 $195.83. Okay, so now let's go to our prepaid account. So once again, that's an intangible asset because I can't physically touch insurance, right? I can touch the policy, but I can't physically touch what insurance does for me, right? It's an invisible protection against whatever it is that this insurance was for. Maybe it's protection for in case someone breaks into the store, right? I have the store insurance to cover any damages that are necessary, okay? So in this case, can I physically touch that? No. You can't. So in this case, this is going to be considered a prepaid account because we already paid for it in advance, right? As in, we paid for it, they owe me money. They owe me service now. And I can't own or I can't touch insurance because that's just one of the intangible assets, right? But however, I have ownership over for the next 11 months. That means Sergeant Insurance better cover me for the next 11 months because I own the insurance for those 11 months. Okay? So there you go. It is June 5th, right? And then, of course, you could say you purchased, so in this case, this is 11 months. Advance payment. Or advanced insurance, whatever you want to say. I'm going to do payment of insurance. You can add things like, well, in this case, it's gonna be roughly about $195.83 per month. Okay. All right. If you want to include the check number, you can. It's not necessary. Policy number, whatever it is that you have, but you don't necessarily need to just because you would know for this year that you paid 11 months, so the contract should stay the same, and you're gonna put that contract obviously in your subsidiary ledger. So in this case, that's good enough information to know what has happened and what I did. Okay, because I will reference this on General Journal page 1. So if I flip to General Journal page 1, I will know who I have bought insurance from, and I would have the policy number right then and there. So again, referencing things allows you to not have to repeat putting in information as much as possible, right? So that's why if you put as much information in your journal, then you would not necessarily need to have to do entering the information anywhere else. So in this case, right, I entered in, so on my journal, I enter in $2,054.17 worth of insurance on the debit side. So in this case, because we are increasing our prepaid accounts, right, because we have a prepaid rent, now I did another prepaid account for insurance. So because I'm increasing this account by using a debit, I need to figure out what my account balance is at the end of this transaction. So if you remember the formula, right, we're going to do equal. We're going to add our previous number of 4,500. We're going to add any debit. So in this case, I just increased my account by 2,154. And I'm also going to subtract my empty column here in the credit side because so that in case I do end up having a credit in this column, it's going to automatically calculate it for me without having me to enter in this formula every single time. So in this case, if I press enter, it's going to say that I have a total now of 6654.17. Okay? Because I took 4,500, I added 2,154, will give me 6,654. Okay? Now, of course, since we are going to be using the prepaid for quite some time here, you can go ahead and drag this formula all the way down. Don't do it to the end of the gray here. That's different totals here for your total account balance. So in this case, you don't necessarily need to go all the way down to the gray. You stop there. Okay. So there you go. There's my running balance. So if I add anything to my debit, it will increase it. If I put anything in my credit, it will decrease it. Okay. And of course, last but not least, I have to go up to my checking account because I spent some more money. All right. So in this case, June 5th, right? Only piece of information I just need is just my check number. Because if I put in 1503, right, I can easily look up my check register and my register is going to tell me exactly how much, when, and who, right? And if you had that extra column for the notes, it will also give you more detail saying, oh, I put in this check for the reason because I paid for insurance. Okay? And of course, I'm also going to reference where this transaction was. It was on General Journal number 1. Okay? And because in my journal, I credited my account because I spent money, right? I don't have the money anymore. I wrote a check. Therefore, I'm going to intentionally decrease my checking account. How much am I going to decrease it by? 2,350. All right? Because I have my running balance already, I put the formula in this entire column right here. So that's going to reduce my checking account from $13,911 down to $11,561. Okay. So again, Excel, by adding and entering all these formulas, it just makes it that much quicker and much more easier to process the process the calculations so you don't have to manually do it yourself. Right? So there's my new ending balance in my checking account is I still have $11,561. So that means I have money left to spend. All right. So now that my journal's done, my ledger is done, I have one more thing I need to do because now I need to go ahead and update my subsidiary ledger. Okay. To put this that I had contacted Sargent Insurance, okay, to purchase insurance to protect my store, okay? So for any reasons that you have any issues arising with with your insurance policies or anything like that, you have the information to back it up, okay? So here, it should be in alphabetical order. Our Sargent Insurance right here. It is June 5th. Okay. Notes you could put here is I bought a 12-month insurance plan. Okay. Insurance. Okay. Other things I can say here is I also cut a check number 1503. I can even put in that since I bought the 12-month insurance, right, it is roughly going to be $195.83 per month. Okay, and I paid it by using check number 1503. Invoice number, we don't technically have an invoice number, but we do have a policy number, right? A policy number is more or less the same thing as a contract, right? So this is your policy for this insurance, okay? And it's 884513. 884513, right? Again, when did this transaction happen? It occurred on my very first general journal, okay? Was I given terms? In this case, since you've already made the payment right then and there, you don't receive terms, okay? Because at the end of the day, every month if you get billed every single month, right, they cannot collect money from you, but they should give you your monthly statement saying, well, you've been covered this month, okay? So in this case, no terms here because I don't owe money, okay? So no terms means no discount due date and no due date itself. Okay. Prepaid amount. Did I pay my insurance company a down payment prior to signing this contract? No, I did not. So I don't have an actual prepaid amount, right? Instead, I end up paying for the whole 12-month insurance plan, right? But what I'm trying to get to say here is that this prepaid column is if you knew what the contract was about and you made an advance payment before the contract was made, then, or like a down payment or a deposit, then you would put this here. But in this case, I did not talk to the insurance company ahead of time, and I decided to buy a 12-month plan, not pay a down payment to get the 12-month plan. Okay, so in this case, no prepaid here. However, what was the invoice amount on my policy? It was $2,350. Okay? And did I return my insurance? No, I did not. And it will definitely be hard to return the policy. Okay? Will I get a discount on my policy? No. Usually this discount is if you were given terms. And did I pay my insurance? Yes, I did. I paid using check number 1503. Okay. So now that I have my numbers here, okay, now it's time for me to solve for my how much I actually owe Sergeant Insurance. Okay. So again, this formula is going to be your invoice amount, so what you owe, okay, minus any prepaid, minus any returns, minus any discounts, minus any payments. So in this case, I owe Sergeant Insurance $0. Okay? All right? I owe $0 because we had a good agreement. We had the policy. I paid right then and there, so I don't owe Sergeant Insurance anything. Okay? So there we go. We finished our subsidiary ledger. Okay, so now that that transaction is complete, we can now go ahead and proceed to the very next transaction. Okay. So then June 6th rolls around, okay? June 6th, Thursday, and we end up applying for a business credit card from National Bank. Okay? Is this a transaction I need to journalize? No, right? Because all I did was apply. Do I know how much my credit limit is? Do I know, did I even get approved for a credit card?
No.
No. All we know is we just applied, right? No transaction here. I didn't have to pay for an application, right? All right, but usually you should get your results instantly. But most cases, you only record it when you actually receive the actual credit card, okay? All right. So now, next day here on June 6th, we end up receiving our line of credit. So again, Main Bank of Nevada approves the line of credit for $10,000, okay? This $10,000 is only to be applied on overdrafting. Okay, so this is an overdraft protection plan and any personal loans to be taken out in increments of $1,000. Okay, and of course, the terms here is that if you do end up dipping into this line of credit, you will be charged an interest rate of 22%, and it's going to be applied to unpaid balances, okay, in the amount, okay? So again, and it's going to be compounded every single day. So therefore, every single day that you have unpaid balances, obviously this 22% isn't going to be every single time. It's based on an annual percentage. So this one, again, I'm not going to have you calculate this compound interest, but it's quite very interesting on what it really is when you figure this number out. But in this case, that's the agreement terms that you signed with when you applied for this line of credit. Is that this is meant for protection plan, but in case that you need to have an extra lump sum money to apply to your business, so again, if you need to take a personal loan for your business, it's going to be 22% interest for every for the amount that you take out. Okay. So, do I need to record this transaction?
No?
Why?
Well, unless it costs you money.
What do you mean?
You know, you had a financial transaction.
You haven't? Well, we received a line of credit.
Yeah, but you didn't borrow anything yet.
Good. Your bank account hasn't been overdrafted yet. You didn't even take your personal loan out yet. You don't need to. So in this case, yes, we got approved for the line of credit. However, it's a condition, right? This isn't us taking the $10,000 and walking away. No, this is for in case of. So again, condition, right? You have to meet a condition for this money to appear. Are you going to take a personal loan or are you going to overdraft your bank? So in this case, no transaction necessary. However, this is definitely important information that we should record somewhere, right? This is a perfect example of a transaction that, may have not occurred, but it's definitely pertinent information that could be used for the future, right? So this is something that you would put into the notes to the financial statements. But again, we're not going to be creating an actual report, okay? So in this case, where else do you think is a perfect place that I can put this extra piece of information? Where can I put this information?
In your journal?
The journal's only meant for transactions. The general ledger or subsidiary ledger? Subsidiary ledger, because in this case, we got approved of a line of credit from Maine Bank of Nevada. That's very important because if we end up overdrafting, who's going to charge us? Maine Bank of Nevada. And are they going to let us know? Not all the time, right? You would have to keep frequently checking your checking account to see whether you overdrafted or not because you won't find out until you get your bank statement at the end of the month. So in this case, this is definitely a good transaction and piece of information that could be useful in case you do get your bank statement and you end up getting all of these financial charges. Because here is the reason why. All right, so let's go ahead and put this piece of information in my subsidiary ledger because This deals with the Maine Bank of Nevada. Okay, so Maine Bank of Nevada. Maine Bank of Nevada. Here you go, Maine Bank of Nevada. Now, is there a date that you necessarily have to put in here? Not necessarily, but you could put the date. So in this case, you were approved on the 6th. Okay. Notes that you need to put in here is going to be, well, you got a line of credit. Line of credit of $10,000, right? For overdraft protection and personal loan. Okay. And here you need to know is 22% interest. And you do need to know if it's compounded daily or anything like that. Again, if you're the one that's calculating it, yes, you do need to. But at the end of the day, how do you know how much you're going to be charged interest? The bank's going to send you a statement. So in this case, you don't need to configure this out yourself, right? The bank will do it for you. So that's good enough that it's going to be 22% interest. Obviously, how are you going to get charge interest? That's straightforward, right? It's going to be based on unpaid balances. Okay. Now, in this case, you don't need an invoice because, again, when will you get charged this? When you receive your bank statement, right? The minute you overdraft your bank account, which you won't see until your bank statement. So in this case, right now, that's just information that I'm just putting in here. Does it mean that I owe anything? No. I didn't borrow the money. I didn't do anything with this. So in this case, I am done with this. I did not receive a bill yet. But this is information in case I do get overdraft and got charged. I got charged for the interest. Okay, so that's all I need to do here. All right. All right. So then let's see what happened next. We end up making our very first purchase order, 170301, to the furniture store. Okay. We bought one desk set. Unit cost is $562. Okay. Total cost $562. Right. What do I do with this purchase order? What should I do with this purchase order? Should I record it?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because you purchased something.
Now let's take a look at this, what it says here, purchase order. I sent a purchase order to furniture store. Did I actually buy something? Did I spend money? And if I did, how did I spend my money?
I don't think it says.
Okay, so in this case, right, we have some holes in our questions, right? It doesn't tell us how much we pay. It doesn't tell how we paid. It doesn't tell us when we paid, right? So in this case, right, what does a purchase order do? Well, straightforward. If I go up to somebody, right, and I say, I want to order this, and they say, okay, and they punch it into the computer, right? Did I receive my items yet? I didn't pay for it yet. All this simply is just an order, right? Maybe they don't have the furniture readily available that I want. Maybe because I'm sending it to the store, they have to ship me the product. So in this case, right, this is just a simple order. We call this a non-posting transaction because, number one, there's no real transaction because I didn't pay for it, right? No transference of money was there. So in this case, this is just us ordering a desk from the store, right? And then now we just have to wait for it to arrive to our store. And then we can, because we then will receive a bill, right? In this case, if we did send it out, we don't know how much tax they're going to charge me. We don't know how much shipping they're going to charge me. So in this case, this is considered a non-posting transaction, and we just sent an order slip to this company, right? Now, as someone who's just a sole proprietor, you only got Bob. How is Bob going to keep track of this? How should we keep track that we ordered something? Because if you order a whole bunch of things, right, and it just all of a sudden just pours into the store, how do I know I actually ordered this item?
Doesn't he issue you an invoice or something?
They do, yes, of course. But my question is, how do I keep track of all the things that I order? Right? What if Bob's ordering a whole bunch of things, and what if I'm ordering a whole bunch of things? Shouldn't we keep track of the things that we order? So then when it does arrive, right, we can check it off? Because what if we order a whole bunch of things and then realize, wait, I'm missing something. Let's look at my purchase orders. And if one of the orders is missing, how would I know to call the vendor up? Which vendor to call and pick it up? Which item am I missing? So in this case, there is a section where I've already created for you to keep track of the things that you order, right? For the Excel, it's on the purchase order tab, which is in your general journal. For Word, it's attached to your check register, your deposits, and your purchase orders. So in this case, this is a good idea to have, because if you are the inventory manager, you should be keeping track of what you purchase. Okay, so in this case, here's my purchase order slip. Right here, purchase order 170301. Okay, so when was the day that I purchased it? I purchased it on June 6th. Who was the vendor? Oh, not the vendor. Yeah, who is the vendor that I sent the purchase order to? Furniture store. Okay, and what did I buy from the furniture store? Or what did I order? I ordered a desk, right? How much was it quoted to me for? $562. So this is also important too, because what if you buy a desk and Bob decides to buy a desk, and then you get a desk ship in? How do you know this is the correct desk that you ordered? You would have to match the price to the bill. Okay, so it's very important that you do keep track of your purchase orders, because it's very useful information, especially if when we buy purchase of inventory, right? If I make 1 billion other purchases of inventory, right, how do I know which one is the correct order? How do I know? Because when I end up missing an order, how do I backtrack that? You would do that by keeping track of your purchase orders exactly like this. And when you receive the items, you check mark them and you tell them what invoice it was. Okay, so when we receive our desk here, it's going to give us an invoice number, and we're going to put it in here to check off that we received the items. Okay, so there's your purchase order. Okay, no journal transaction necessary, because once again, it's a non-posting transaction. No physical money was actually exchanged. Okay, all right. So then let's take a look here. On the same day, June 6th, we end up making a second purchase order, okay? Maybe I bought the desk because I needed it, so then I can record the books, right? In this case, Bob decides to say, hey, we need to buy a counter and we need to buy some display shelves, so then we can set up the shop. So he decides to order this, right? And we are ordering from the same store. So in this case, we submitted a second purchase order, all right, to furniture store for one counter, which is quoted at $1,033. Okay, and then we're gonna get 5 display shelves, which the unit cost of it is $102 each, giving us a grand total estimated amount to be $1,543. Okay, so since it's just a purchase order, I'm gonna record that in my purchase order. So here, purchase order number 302. Okay, who did we purchase from? Furniture store. What did we buy? We ordered a counter and shelves. Okay, and how much was it in grand total? $1,543.
I can see that the area is pretty small. Would there be like another, paper? Because you ordered a bunch of things, you couldn't fit it all in that little box there like that.
Whoa, what do you mean? In this case, it's Excel, so I can expand it how I want. But if you're using the Word document, yeah, of course. You can always, change the sizing of that. Change the font size and you'd be able to put in all information. But again, if you are doing this paper and pen, you just have to adjust it on the Word document for you to be able to fit everything in there. Or you can, if you want to, you can even just type directly into the Word document. You don't necessarily have to write everything by hand. But yes, that would be the occasion. Then you would need the sheet to be adjustable for however you'd like. Again, because I'm on Excel, right, I could type as much information as like. If I wanted to, I can even be specific, right, and say I bought one, 10 by 35 counter, marble counter, right? And then I can even say, and I bought 5 glass display shelves, right? I could be that specific if I really wanted to. Okay, and in this case, right, my Excel expands it for me for me. I don't have to do anything. So that's the great thing about technology is that if you're typing everything in, everything will be visible to you. But if you're writing everything down, that's where you either have to write everything small or you just have to change the size and the table to make sure that it can fit your handwriting. Okay? But in this case, yeah, I don't necessarily need to have to do that because I'm using Excel. So counter and shelves is all I really need. Okay? So that's that there. All right, so then there you go. That was my purchase order there. Okay, so now let's see what happened to the next transaction. Okay, so here, okay, an electricity is connected. Okay, $100 deposit is required payable to NV Utilities. Okay, invoice number 502. So in this case, right, I had to have the electricity turn on, right? That is separate from your actual rent, right? Rent and utilities are 2 separate things, right? Electricity is based on how much electricity you use. So in this case, just to turn it on, they told me I need to put a deposit down for $100, okay, to keep it on. All right. So then, because I have to do this, right, I issued them another check. So because I had to write the check issued payable to NV Utilities, how am I going to journalize this transaction?
Utility expense?
In this case, I'm not paying for the month that I used the electricity for. That's what utilities expense is, right? That's when I used electricity and now I'm paying for it. In this case, this is something that they required for me to just turn on the electricity.
Utility deposit.
Is there such thing as a utility deposit in your chart of accounts?
Just a basic.
It's just a regular deposit. So in this case, yes, I'll just shove that in there and I can refer it to as a utility deposit. So in this case, what account number is deposits? Right here, 18,700, right? And how did we pay with it? Pay for it?
Check.
We wrote a check. Okay? So 18,700 and 10,100. So in this case, I need to cut a check. So you need to go to your check register. Okay. Today is the 6th, right? We paid $100. And who did we cut this check out to? NV Utilities. Okay. So therefore, I cut check number 1504. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that I worked with NV Utilities. Okay. This was electricity deposit. Okay. And it was, I wrote check number 1504. Okay. Electricity deposit, utility deposit, whatever you want to call it. So, and it was for $100. Okay. So now that I have a deposit for $100 and again, this deposit is something that is an intangible asset, right? Can you physically touch the ability to turn on the electricity? Can you touch this deposit for security to turn on your electricity?
No.
No, you can't, right? It's money that's being held so then the electricity could be powered on. That's all this deposit is for. Okay? So in this case, no, you can't touch it, but you do own it because you paid them. You paid them, so they must provide services for you. So in this case, this is a deposit. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put it in my ledger. Okay. Now, of course, if I go to my ledger, the first thing I see is my checking account. Again, for beginners, try not to do this because, again, you might put your checking account in here and then forget and move on to the next transaction. So I'm just going to follow through like what I've said, right? Rule of thumb, practice this first, right? But once we get to week 3 and week 4, if you want to do it however you want to do it, I'm fine with that. Okay? But for now, I'm going to follow through. So I'm going to go find my deposits here. Okay, so I have prepaid accounts, deposits. Okay, it is June 6th, and I'm going to go ahead and write electricity deposit. Okay, and still on general journal number 1, and I paid $100. So in this case, once again, you're going to have to increase your debits for deposits because I have one for my rent and I have now one for electricity. Okay, so once again, the formula is going to be your previous balance of $1,500. You're going to add your debit of $100 and you're going to credit that empty space right there for 0. okay, and enter in your deposit. So there you go. I'm gonna reach down, pull it down all the way to the bottom of my table here. So now I have $1,600 worth of deposits. Okay. Next I'm gonna do is I have to update my checking account because I spent more money. I wrote out another check. So in this case, it is June 6th, and I end up using check number 1504, okay? We're still on general journal number 1 here, and I spent another $100. So therefore, I dropped my value from 11,561 to 11,461. Okay? I have $100 less in my checking account. And I also have dealt with NV Utilities, right? They're the people that are going to be in charge of my utilities, right? So gas, water, electric, all of that jazz, okay? So for whatever I need to pay for them, they're going to be responsible for billing me for my electricity bill, my water bill, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we need to enter this because I end up paying NV Utilities, right, to make the deposit for the electricity. And I was also given the invoice number, okay, right? I was given the invoice number of 502. So let's go ahead and locate NV Utilities. Here they are, right under Main Bank of Nevada. There it is, NV Utilities. It is June 6th. What did you do? You put a deposit for electricity, so electricity deposit. Okay, and I even wrote check number 1504 to prove that I paid for the utility, the electricity deposit. I even included the invoice, right? Because I received a bill, right? Or I received the payment to say that, hey, you want electricity, you got to pay this. So here's your receipt. Okay. Post reference, once again, this transaction happened on the very first general journal. Terms are not given just because, again, you're least likely are going to get any discounts for utilities. Okay, no prepayment was made, but we were aware that it cost me $100 and I did pay for it. So again, formula is going to be invoice amount minus prepaid minus returns minus discounts minus payments. So therefore, I owe NV Utilities nothing. All right? Any questions in regard to that? Okay. I'm actually gonna stop here real quick. All right. I need to take a break.